Cody Rhodes is one of the most talented superstars of his generation, coming from one of wrestling's royal families, with in particular his legendary father Dusty Rhodes. It's a pleasure to meet you on the Wrestling Paradise to tell you the most mind-blowing stories about the American Nightmare. So are you ready to be shocked to learn how he ended up without his clothes in a tanning salon because of Randy Orton? Are you wondering what The Undertaker did for him in his first Royal Rumble? Do you want to know more about his escape ways after Dusty Rhodes' death? Do you want to find out which match he considers the worst of his entire career? And are you curious to learn why he had hatred towards Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins years before he faced them in the ring? You will know everything and much more at the end of our video. You are on the Wrestling Paradise, the most mind-blowing stories about Cody Rhodes. Let's go. In 2006, Cody Rhodes started at Ohio Valley Wrestling, the WWE training center in Kentucky, which was still managed at that time by Paul Heyman, the same gentleman with whom he would have an extraordinary and emotional promo 17 years later on Monday Night Raw, at the time of Cody's first rivalry against Roman Reigns. To the American Nightmare spoke about Paul's past with his father, expressed his gratitude for what Heyman did to help Dusty Rhodes financially, in a very deep and beautiful moment. But Heyman will tell him that, in his last conversation with him, Dusty told him that Cody was his favorite son, but that Roman Reigns was the son he always wanted to have. It was a promo of raw emotion and depth. At OVW anyway, it's mostly Old Snow who trains him, and it's going to get pretty well for Cody since he's going to be the first wrestler to do a triple there in history. He wins the television champion's belt, the tag team championship with Shawn Spears, whom he will find years later at an All Elite Wrestling, and the heavyweight championship. But there Cody Rhodes is having a blast. He describes it as a great experience, as if he were at university. But to his surprise, he will only stay there for a year since he starts on Raw on July 2nd, 2007. In hindsight, he will say that he was not yet ready to start and that he would surely have needed 2 more years there before having his big debut. On the other hand, a few months after his first match, he will have the chance to participate in his first Royal Rumble in 2008, a show that I love that took place at Madison Square Garden, where he will stay in the ring for 23 minutes, and above all he will live a short scene that marked him. He will hit The Undertaker from behind with all his strength, and while Cody didn't expect it at all, the dead man will take a few bumps for a young wrestler, sell for him while he didn't have to do it considering the legend that he is. It impressed him, and it shows once again all the class of Undertaker. July 16th, 2007 was a very significant day in the career of Cody Rhodes. On that day, it was the first time the viewers were going to see him in action. Cody did his entrance accompanied by Dusty, and he had a green and yellow outfit. In this look, as well as in his physical appearance, we immediately perceive his young age, a lack of credibility and thickness in terms of his appearance, which can obviously be understood considering that he hadn't even had 50 matches in his life, and that he was only 22 years old. It is only logical to feel there was a huge gap between him and Randy Orton, his opponent on that day, especially since the Legend Killer had already been on the main roster for 5 years at that time. Orton was also great in his acting and his attempts to intimidate Dusty, who stayed at ringside throughout the match. During 7 minutes, Cody took a lesson from a high-level performer in a confrontation that looked more like a hazing than a physical confrontation. However, it should be emphasized that Cody didn't look stressed or awkward in his performance. Despite his lack of stature, he was a natural in the ring. And besides, about this match, Randy Orton said that Cody was green, but that he felt his heart and his fighting spirit. He clearly was the son of Dusty Rhodes. The heir to the legend will offer us a missile dropkick from the top rope, but he will not escape Orton's devastating final RKO, which will make him lose. Knowing the rest of his career that we are going to see together, and more particularly Randy's important role in it, it is really incredibly symbolic that the RKO Master was Cody's first official opponent in the Federation, that it was with him everything really started, and all that in front of his father. Without a shadow of a doubt, it is really with Orton that the American Nightmare has the strongest past among all the wrestlers. But you will see that there are even crazier stories coming by the end of the video, so make sure to stay until the end, because they will surprise you. Cody Rhodes was the privileged witness of the years when Randy Orton was crazier than ever backstage, between sometimes dubious jokes and behavior that could be chaotic. One time, Randy Orton had fun stealing Cody's clothes while they were at a tanning salon in the state of Alabama, and even took a nude photo of Cody with his cell phone, although he ended up deleting it after his friend complained. And another day, in a restaurant, Cody had again witnessed a crazy scene with Randy. The latter was mad because the oatmeal he was served didn't suit him. He had then thrown the container with the oatmeal in the restaurant, got up and left. On another occasion, he had even forced a girl who had come to ask him for an autograph to spill a plate of mushrooms on her head if she wanted him to offer her this privilege. And the crazy thing is that despite the fact that Cody is 5 years younger than Randy, he was the adult in the legacy and the one who Vince McMahon sent messages to when he wanted to talk to the clan. That's completely crazy. In April 2010, Cody was drafted to SmackDown, and it was going to be an opportunity for him to start a new character a few weeks later. Dashing Cody Rhodes. After winning a poll among the divas who named him the most beautiful wrestler, he becomes a narcissist character who was obsessed with his physical perfection and who gave beauty tips in Great Vineyard. In this gimmick, he was very protective of his face, and we had really well-found elements. He had a mirror on the back of his jacket. In his entrance, the Minotron showed his reflection live when he looked at himself like a mirror. The theme song Smoke and Mirrors was great. He had a beautiful DC logo. His vignettes were also funny with stereotypes and extreme photos of the human body. At that moment, Cody showed that he could play a character in which he could have been completely ridiculous, but not at all. He was comfortable with it. As he will say himself, he was happy to have his own gimmick, his own creation. This time, it came neither from being the son of Dusty Rhodes, nor from being the member of a clan with Randy Orton. It was really his. The only element that Cody regretted at that time. And it goes into the idea that even if he plays it very well, it's difficult to take his character seriously to win the main title, for example, is that his role is only comedic and fun. One day before their match, he went to see the Big Show and told him precisely that he would like it all to be more serious. At that moment, Big Show tells him to go get over, and then he leaves the room. In any case, Cody seems to have found a character he likes and who corresponds to him, but in January 2011 something will happen that will turn everything upside down. In a match against Rey Mysterio, he takes the finisher of the Luchador, the 619, and it breaks his nose. His face, which was his absolute obsession, and which no one had the right to touch, was suddenly disfigured. Well, actually not really, but he's going to play on this to add another dimension to his character, and this time become undashing Cody Rhodes. He will wear a transparent mask, a hood, pretending that he had to do surgery, and after a while, he will even give bags to cover the face to people in the audience whom he finds ugly, or the one of his opponents, which was still original. For the record, he had contacted the doctor who made the mask for the basketball player Richard Hamilton to make his own, and created his character inspired by the one of Patrick Bateman in the movie American Psycho, which was brilliantly embodied by Christian Bale. Nevertheless, it should be noted that a few months later in June 2011, he had a tag team match on SmackDown where there was also Ted DB, a C Jr. that Cody considers the worst match of his life. On that day, the finish came earlier than planned with Ted, who hadn't managed to get out of a pinfall and who will be angry at the referee backstage. While Vince McMahon was overwhelmed by this failed match and was about to lecture Cody and his comrades, Ted yelled in a vulgar but above all incorrect wording that the referee had tried to F on him. Seeing this, Vince sat down and moved on. On September 2nd, 2013, Triple H fired Cody Rhodes from the Stamford Federation. In kayfabe, of course, after a loss to Randy Orton. It was the opportunity for Dusty Rhodes' son to go on honeymoon with his sweetheart that he has just married, Brandi Reed, known for having worked there under the name Eden, where she was an announcer. It was Dusty, by the way, who had told Cody about this girl for the first time when he was helping the young wrestlers of Florida Championship Wrestling, the company's developmental at one point. He told him there was a girl there with beautiful eyes. A nice thing in what was a complicated time for Cody. He will nevertheless live one of the most beautiful moments of his career at Battleground on October 6th, where, with his brother Goldust and under the eyes of their father, they will regain their jobs by defeating two of the three members of The Shield, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. Who could have believed at that moment that they would be his future opponents at WrestleMania almost 10 years later? I would like to point out that Dusty's moment of communion with his two sons at the end of this match was really superb and full of emotions. It was also very shortly before his death, and it is beautiful that the three of them were able to share it. It was a real family triumph. Together with Goldust, they form the Brotherhood and will win the tag team title on October 14th on Raw against The Shield again. But from a human point of view, it was beautiful for them because they had few moments together in their real lives, considering that Dustin is 16 years older than him. Being a family on the screen enabled them to also be a family behind the scenes. This is really a very significant moment for the Rhodes family, especially since we could learn that, in the past, there was a period of 5 years during which Dustin had not spoken to his father. Cody Rhodes said that the loss of Dusty Rhodes freed him more in his decisions. For the first time, he will feel fully responsible for his choices. He remembers, for example, that a few years ago he wanted to put pants in the ring, but that his father told him it was for jobbers, whereas today Cody wrestles in this way and would never see himself put on trunks like in the past. What is certain is that from now on he will not back down from strong decisions that he might not have made if his father was still there. The sad thing for Cody is that he will never be able to bring the belt back to Dusty. At the memorial service for Dusty, Cody had the courage to give his father's eulogy in front of many wrestlers and legends. Ric Flair says about Cody's speech that any father would like to have his son talking about him in the way Cody did. In this eulogy, the son of the legend said of his father that he was a cowboy of the old republic and master speaker who spat fire, a world-class family man. Cody encouraged everyone there to fight for their family and to not just have a dream but an American dream, which was great. This period of his life will be very painful for him. He will confide that he didn't know how to handle it, how to handle his mother, that it happened by surprise, that it was very hard to accept that Dusty will no longer be there to see what happens next. He will focus on loopholes, such as collecting action figures of the Masters of the Universe, on his Stardust character, on the purchase of a new house, and it is a few months later that he will truly mourn. Before he died, when he saw his son in this Stardust character, Dusty Rhodes had called Cody's sister and told her that Cody could never be world champion with this gimmick. While talking to his son, Dusty saw that his talent was wasted in the Stamford Federation and even advised him to leave the company. But what really broke Cody's heart was that while his career was going nowhere, Dusty was working at NXT and training wrestlers like Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins to become stars, which was driving Cody crazy, who felt left out. He had a hatred against them, especially since they were nicknamed Dusty's children, something he took badly because he was really his child and his career was going nowhere. He says it's like his dad has a baseball team, but he's not allowed to play. While he was originally presented with Stardust as a superhero, the reality was that he would never be champion with such a character, which was also Dusty's opinion. The latter hated this character and didn't understand why they didn't see his son as a top star, although he was obviously not objective. He even advised him to leave if he wasn't happy with this character, while basically Cody would most likely have preferred to be part of NXT alongside Dusty's other disciples. Wasn't that crazy? What an incredible journey, right? Can you believe he hated Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins years before facing them? And how he had that sequence with The Undertaker in the 2008 Royal Rumble? With all these stories, we were able to realize how incredible the journey of the American Nightmare has been, with initially a long first period in the Stamford Federation where his destiny seemed all mapped out to finally live hard times that will force him to completely change and create his own kingdom, before returning as a hero. But we can say that Cody Rhodes has really become undeniable. I hope you had a good time watching this video, and I invite you to stay on the Paradise of Wrestling to look at some other ones. See you right away.
And that's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold said so. What?